In August 2015, a disturbing series of images appeared on the anonymous forum 4chan. They showed what looked like the lifeless body of a young woman. The OP claimed he had killed several women and offered a game. He would post photos and let users guess the victims' names. At first, many on the site thought it was just a sick troll. People on 4chan often faked stories for shock value, so nobody could tell if it was real or not. But soon, details from the post began lining up with reality. In one image, a dark-haired woman lay covered in blood, her face not visible. Next to it, the anonymous user shared an old high school portrait of a smiling girl. Within minutes, other users recognized that face. They believed it was Shauna Maynard, a teenager from Las Vegas who had been found shot to death in 1998. In real life, Shauna was a 17-year-old runaway who had been kidnapped and murdered. Her killer was never found. The realization set in that the photos on 4chan might be showing Shauna's actual fate. As users pressed for more, the OP rewarded their guesses by uploading more pictures. He posted one of Shauna alive, a graduation photo, and another of what appeared to be her corpse. He even hinted that she had enjoyed being with him before her death. This twisted interaction carried on for some time, with the poster taunting the community about multiple victims. The thread showed additional horrifying images. One appeared to be a decomposed face, and another showed a body contorted inside a box, as if it had been hidden away. With each new post, some readers became convinced they were watching a serial killer brag about his crimes in real time. The authorities were called. The content was too specific to ignore. The FBI became involved, and Las Vegas police were alerted. For a moment, it felt possible that an actual murderer was confessing on 4chan. Shauna's family, who had lived without answers for over a decade, suddenly had to face these gruesome images and claims. It was a cold case nightmare dragged into the spotlight of the internet. Law enforcement later called the posts a likely hoax. They said the pictures and claims are not valid, but didn't explain further. Perhaps the photos were stolen or altered. The retired detective Randy Sutton called it a sick game that forced a family to relive their trauma for an internet stunt. In the end, the so-called 4chan serial killer went silent. The anonymous user never posted again after 2015. He was never identified. Whether it was all an elaborate fabrication or if the person truly had unseen crime scene photos remain a mystery. Shauna Maynard's murder case remains unsolved to this day. On December 5th, 2007, an anonymous message appeared on 4chan's /b/ board. The user wrote about planning to shoot up a mall later that day. In the chaotic, dark-humored culture of 4chan, many readers shrugged it off as a tasteless joke. People replied with skepticism and morbid jokes of their own. No one truly believed a random user would carry out such a threat. But just hours later, a horrifying attack proved them wrong. That afternoon, 19-year-old Robert Hawkins walked into the West Roads Mall in Omaha, Nebraska, carrying a rifle. Without warning, he opened fire on shoppers and employees inside a department store. Panicked 911 calls began flooding in as gunshots echoed through the mall. Hawkins shot multiple people at random, killing 8 innocent victims in cold blood. Shoppers ran for their lives or hid behind counters, unsure of what was happening. In the span of only 6 minutes, Hawkins turned a normal day at the mall into a scene of carnage. Finally, he ended his own life before police could stop him. When news of the Omaha shooting hit the media, some in the online community remembered the anonymous 4chan warning. The post describing a planned mall massacre suddenly didn't seem like a joke at all. On 4chan, users started connecting the dots. In the thread from earlier that day, one person had even asked the original poster for proof or a picture, not realizing the deadly intent behind the words. Hours later, another user on that same thread wrote a disturbing update. "Guys, this is going on right now." The realization spread that the warning signs had been right there on the forum, hiding in plain sight and ignored. Investigators later looked into the online threat. It appeared that the 4chan post had indeed predicted the attack. though it remains unclear if Hawkins himself was the one who wrote it. The timing and details were chillingly close. Hawkins had left a note for his family that day, saying he was going to be famous for what he was about to do. On 4chan, the anonymous user had similarly hinted at a deadly plan that would hit the news. In the aftermath, Omaha reeled from the loss of 8 lives. The victims range in age from 24 to 66, all simply going about their day when they were brutally gunned down. People on 4chan and beyond were haunted by the idea that an online forum had a front row seat to the killer's intentions. But this wasn't the last time photos or confessions would be shared on the site. The next case shows one of the clearest examples of a killer using 4chan to expose his crime. In November 2014, people on 4chan's random board came across something that at first looked like another attempt to shock. An anonymous user had uploaded pictures of a woman's body. The images showed a woman lying on a bed in a messy bedroom. She was naked. Bruises could be seen on her face and around her neck. She was clearly not moving. Alongside the photos, the user wrote several messages where he admitted what he had done. The woman was soon identified as Amber Copeland, a 30-year-old mother living in Port Orchard, Washington. Earlier that same day, November 4th, 2014, Amber had been strangled in her home. The person posting on 4chan was her boyfriend, David Kalac. While people online scrolled through the thread, Kalac was using the site to brag about killing her. His tone was cold and casual, as if what he had done was just another story to share. One of his first posts said, "Turns out it's way harder to strangle someone to death than it looks in the movies." In another, he added, "She fought so damn hard." At first, many 4chan users were not sure what to believe. People on the site often post hoaxes with stolen or fake images. Some thought the pictures might have been staged, but others noticed that the details were too specific. The bedroom in the background looked real, not staged. Clothing and objects were scattered across the floor. Then there were the things Kalac wrote. They were not vague. They described exactly what was happening in the house, where Amber's body still was. Kalac told users what would happen next. Her son will be home from school soon. He'll find her, then call the cops. I just wanted to share the pics before they find me. In another message he wrote, I bought a BB gun that looks realistic enough. When they come, I'll pull it, and it will be suicide by cop. These words made it clear that whoever was posting not only knew Amber was dead, but also knew her son was about to discover her. That night, the thread's claims came true. Amber's teenage son returned home from school and found his mother's body. He called the police, just as the post had said he would. When officers arrived, they quickly realized her car was missing. They put out a warrant for David Kalac, who had fled the scene. Overnight, a manhunt began. Officers in Oregon spotted Amber's stolen car and chased it down the highway. The driver managed to escape into the night. The search continued until the next morning, when Kalac walked into a police station and turned himself in. He was arrested without incident. Investigators later confirmed that Kalac had been the one behind the 4chan posts. The photos and words he uploaded were posted in the hours after Amber's death and before his escape attempt. They became crucial evidence. Prosecutors would later use them to show that the killing was intentional and that Kalac had no remorse. Kalac was eventually convicted of murdering Amber Copeland and sentenced to a long prison term. On April 12, 2013, a disturbing message appeared on 4chan. An anonymous user started a thread claiming he was going to carry out a school shooting that same day. Unlike most vague threats online, this post was direct. The user identified himself by name, Neil Macinnis, and said he was a student at New River Community College in Christiansburg, Virginia. His post began with, "I'm gonna give you all the details because the news never gets it right." He urged readers to tune in on a local police scanner to hear what would happen. He explained that he had a shotgun loaded with buckshot and slugs. He admitted he was nervous, since the only time he had ever handled a shotgun was during a police training program he had once been part of. He ended with 3 disturbing words, "Wish me luck." The thread immediately drew responses, but not the kind one might expect. Many users thought it was a hoax or a bid for attention. Some replied with insults, others joked, and a few even encouraged him, not believing he was serious. The culture of 4chan's random board was filled with trolling and shock posts, so the idea that someone would announce a crime in advance seemed ridiculous. To most, it looked like another edgy bluff that would be forgotten within hours. But this time, it was not a bluff. At around 1:55 p.m. that same Friday, Neil Macinnis arrived at the New River Valley Mall, where one of his community college's satellite campuses was located. He parked, walked into the lobby of the campus inside the mall, and pulled out a 12-gauge shotgun. Without warning, he opened fire. 2 women were hit by the blasts, one a student, the other a college employee. Panic broke out as shoppers and students heard the gunshots. People fled through the mall, hiding behind counters or running for exits. The shooting lasted only a few minutes. An off-duty security guard rushed into the chaos and managed to tackle Macinnis to the ground. He was subdued before he could fire again. Police arrived quickly and arrested the 18-year-old shooter. Both of the victims were rushed to the hospital with serious injuries, but they survived. Back on 4chan, the thread that had started as a supposed prank was still active. In real time, users realized something terrible was unfolding. One post in the thread read, "Shots fired." Another person wrote in disbelief, "I can't believe this is real." Very quickly, news outlets confirmed a shooting had taken place at New River Community College. The details, the location, the type of weapon, even the shooter's name matched exactly what had been posted minutes earlier. The original thread was later removed, but screenshots were already circulating. Investigators confirmed that the post was genuine and that Neil Macinnis had written it just 3 minutes before he carried out the attack. The only reason the attack did not end in multiple deaths was because the shooting was stopped so quickly. Macinnis was later sentenced to decades in prison for attempted capital murder and other charges. Thanks for watching this video until the end. If you found it interesting, don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into internet mysteries and disturbing cases.